Hey there, moms. How's everybody out there doing? Welcome to another episode of Mom 365. I'm your host, Janelle. And on Mom 365, we answer the question, what does motherhood look like for you 365 days a year? We also want to welcome you into the Indulgent Self Lounge. And today I have my lovely co-host with me, Miss Teknesha, Miss Exume. And I just want to give her a minute to go ahead and introduce herself.
Thank you, Janelle. I am Janelle's friend. We've known each other for about 18 years. We met in college, my summer before I started college, and we've just been friends ever since. I am a wife, I'm a mother, a new expectant mother, so I'm still pregnant with my first child. Uh, I work as a software test engineer. I'm in the Army Reserve. I'm a captain there. And so I'm really excited to talk with you today, Janelle.
Oh, thank you, sis. Thank you for saying yes and for showing up to come talk with me. You know, I appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am. Would miss it. Except for, I fall asleep.
Well, yeah, last week, y'all, she fell asleep on me, but that's them pregnancy hormones. It be like that. Catch them while they're awake, because if you don't, they might fall asleep on you.
Right.
So today's conversation, like Tanisha said, she's expecting. Congratulations to you and hubby. I'm excited for you guys.
Thank
Like
you.
she said, she's expecting. You're welcome. So today's episode is going to focus on expecting mothers and what are you expecting from motherhood and how can you plan ahead for the journey? So what better person to have than to bring my good girlfriend on here so she could talk about what she's expecting out of this process. You know, is it really what you expect it to be? We'll find out, right? So we'll probably have to bring her back on after the baby come so she can tell y'all.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That'll be fun.
Yeah. So since you haven't quite yet had the baby, we'll start by what do you believe that motherhood is going to look like for you 365 days a year once the baby gets here?
I definitely think it's going to be a life transition. I'm 36, so I've always just kind of went and did things, that I wanted to do with my husband or just by myself, and just being able to get up and go and get a massage or a pedicure or, go out to eat, if I wanted to. And so now things are going to look a little bit different. So I'm expecting the first year to come with transition, just a lot of transition and changes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I like that you're preparing to know that once you bring another life in this world, it's not just get up and go anymore.
No.
Not at all. Now you got to be planning for somebody else.
Yes.
Or they can always just be the third wheel, but sometimes that can be a burden too.
Yeah. We're going to definitely be bringing him everywhere we go.
Yeah. Okay. So, as an expectant mother, what are some of the emotions and expectations that you have about becoming a mother?
So I would say I am looking forward to just, I guess, learning his personality, seeing what he likes, what he dislikes, seeing how his personality is a part of mine and how part of his personality is like my husband's. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting to know him and learning him within the next year. Of course, we'll have him for a lifetime. So, but this next year, I'm definitely looking forward to just learning more about his personality, what he likes, how he feels loved, how he feels safe, things like that. So I think that can really help parents know how to give love to their children, because some children might not get love through like physical touch. It could be like words of affirmation. So I know in this first year, it's going to be critical to, learn a bit more about his personality and just really, really pay attention to him and seeing how he responds to affection and things of that nature.
Okay, so what about your own personal emotions? Like, how do you feel about the pregnancy? How did you feel when you first found out, like, oh my God, I'm having a baby?
Yes, I was very excited. My husband and I definitely were both really excited. I found out on my birthday this year, my 36th birthday. And I told my husband that night because we were going out for dinner and I wanted to, know if I could drink or not. So I took a pregnancy test and it came out positive. So I didn't have that drink that night, but we were definitely both really excited. I don't think it felt real for me until probably I like started getting sick and stuff because you don't see your belly growing for like a month or so. So I was just like, oh wow, this is kind of cool. Like I have something living inside of me. And then I saw the ultrasounds and then I'm like, oh wow, there really is something living inside of me. And then like you want to be super excited, but you also know like there's the risk of loss early in the pregnancy. So you don't want to like hype yourself up too much. But
Yeah.
I was definitely always like happy, you know what I mean? I didn't tell anyone I didn't tell anyone publicly until I was 20 weeks. So it
Yeah.
was like 5 months by then.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I definitely wanted to do it strategically and not just like post a pregnancy test as soon as I got it because I knew there's the risk of loss. But yeah, so my emotions in the beginning were like really excited. I was definitely happy, like really I was very thankful because I actually wrote on my vision board this year that I wanted to be a mother. So I'm really happy that God answered my prayer.
Amen.
So, a lot of the things I wrote down on my vision board this year have come to pass, and I'm just really, really thankful for that. I'm going to keep doing those vision boards, by the way.
All right, so you know I'm
um,
about to get mine done too. I've been playing.
but yeah, so um, I was just super excited. There's been high moments, there's been low moments, there's been some challenging moments, but overall, I'm about a month away from giving birth, so I'm really excited now. I was a bit nervous, but I have a great doula, I have a great midwife team, I have great doctors, so I feel really confident about my ability to give birth. I just want to go in with a really positive mindset and outlook. But yeah.
Okay, I like it. I like it. So, how can mothers to be prepare themselves mentally and emotionally for the motherhood journey? What is it? How do you think? How did you prepare yourself?
So patience, knowing that everything happens in God's perfect timing. So if you are trying to get pregnant and it's not happening, then definitely be patient and just know that everything happens in the season that it's supposed to happen in.
Yeah.
So if you think about an apple tree, right? If you go and you get an apple before it's ripe, before it's seasoned to ripen, you might have a stomach ache because it wasn't the season that was ready for the harvest of the apple, right?
Yeah.
So if you eat the apple when it's fully ripe and it's falling off the tree and ready to be collected, you're gonna have a nice, juicy apple that tastes very good. And so I think just being patient, also patient with the process. Your body is going to be going through a lot of changes. I've been fit most of my life, and then so this has been a change for me. I get winded very easily now, just going up the stairs, I also get tired super fast. I'm used to like always doing something, being involved in something. And I've had to have a period of rest just to give my body, time to grow the human that I'm growing. So being flexible, like, hey, I had tickets to go to the Roots picnic this year, and I had to like sell them because I was so sick. So I definitely was like, man, I'm missing out. I feel like I can't do all the fun things I used to do because now I'm just like, tired or I just don't have the motivation. Like going to the store, I'm just like in and out, or I'll do pickup if I can. So definitely be flexible. Definitely be patient with yourself. Your body's changing, your hormones are changing. So that would be my advice to people who are expecting or
Okay,
preparing to expect.
I like it. I like it. Just and give yourself some room because things might not happen the way you expect them to or you want them to. So you just have to be able to pivot at any time. So give
Yeah,
yourself room, give yourself grace, be patient. Like she said, be patient. It's a process.
absolutely. Yep. So yeah, that's what I would say is, been my experience and what has helped me through the pregnancy, being flexible, adaptable, just, patient, things of that nature.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are some of the common misconceptions or myths about motherhood that you think should be addressed before the baby arrives?
Common misconceptions is that you know, you have to use like an obstetrician or an OB, or you have to, you know, it's up to you. But I mean, you don't have to do all the vaccines, and you don't have to do all the things they push on you from the medical model. Um, I chose to use a midwife, unattached from a hospital or like a medical practice. It's actually a birthing center. And so she's a certified professional midwife. There's about 5 of them. They're great. I also have a doula. Like, you don't have to do things the traditional way, like, oh, I'm
Right.
pregnant, so let me go see an OB. I'm
Right.
not saying that you shouldn't see an OB, but I'm just also saying there are other options for you if you want to give birth in a more holistic manner,
Yeah.
versus the medical model. Because me being 36, if I would have chosen OB, they would have, tried to press probably like, me to be induced early, especially since it's the holidays coming up. They might have pushed me to, take all these tests, unnecessary things that I don't need. So I would just say you don't have to follow the medical model when it comes to pregnancy. It's actually not a medical condition. And I felt more comfortable with birthing pros versus, someone where you have to just like, um, feel like you're being treated for a condition, And some of my friends have told me, like, oh, they're pushing me to have a C section, or my appointment was like 5 minutes. I really like our appointments with my midwife because we meet for like 45 minutes. Sometimes she's my therapist. Like, she'll be like, oh, so how are you doing? And I can just tell her about everything that's going on in my life. And she'll listen. She's not like, okay, girl, I don't have time for this. Let's just check your baby and be out, which is
Yeah.
what I feel like an OB does. So I like the fact that I chose a more holistic route. Um, my doula has been great in supporting me, and she's going to be there for my birth. Um, so yeah, that's the common misconception. You don't have to take every test they're telling you to take. Like, they want me to do like the flu shot. I'm not doing it until, you know, I feel like I want to do it, but I'm not doing it while I'm pregnant. So that's just my thing when it comes to pregnancy.
So I definitely agree with you, one, because when I was pregnant with my first one too, well, even before I ever became pregnant, my plan was to have a water birth. I was so excited. I wanted to have a water birth. I wanted to do the whole entire holistic, just the whole holistic way of giving birth, just because, one, being a nurse and understanding the healthcare system, and then two, just understanding that before medicine, people gave birth in their house. You had midwives that were trained to give birth. So it's like you said, it's not a condition, it's not a sickness, it's just a normal part of life. So why not do it in the comfort of your home, or things like that. I mean, but I would also say, of course, if there are conditions, because there are some conditions that come with pregnancy that you can't help, that do make it a medical condition. So in those situations, of course, a midwife is not recommended, and they'll also push you towards the OB and the medical model. But when I had midwives at the start of both of my pregnancies. But my first pregnancy, I ended up going into preeclampsia, and then I gave birth in another state, so I had to switch over to the medical model, which I was a little disappointed about, because I actually wanted to be a midwife myself. And one thing I can tell you, a lot of midwives are nurses, so we tend to have a more patient approach to care, right? Because the nursing model in general is our patient comes first. We're here to cater to you. We're here to make you feel comfortable. We're here to build a relationship. And it's a little different. You have a couple of doctors who kind of understand that, but a lot of times it's more so like in and out, in and out, in and out. But in the midwife, I think they do take a lot more. It's a lot more nurturing that kind of goes on. So I do agree with you with that. So I actually like that misconception that you brought up, because I didn't think about that one, but I like it. I like it. Okay, so expectant mothers often have concerns about balancing work, personal life, and motherhood. How can they create a plan to address these concerns?
Oh, that's a really great question. Something that I've thought about myself, especially being a wife and going to be a new mom. So I want to still be able to keep the spice in my
Relationship.
marriage, but also caring for a newborn, and eventually I will be going back to work. So I'm blessed to have a career in which it's uh, pretty flexible, so I can work from home.
Nice.
So I plan to enlist the services of outsourcing. On days where I'm feeling overwhelmed, I will be using a laundry service. I've already started to use one. If I need a mommy helper, I have an extended network in the neighborhood. I have a neighbor who has a daycare. I'm pretty sure like I could drop him off. And the good thing is she lives literally right in back of me, so I can, see him. Also, we have my husband and I have marriage coaches who have been married for like almost 30 years. So they
Yeah.
will help us with, managing the aspects of our marriage when it gets a little rough and maybe we're having a rough patch and we just need some, assistance. Having those marriage coaches there will definitely assist us with keeping the marriage spicy.
I
Um,
like it.
yeah, we meet with them. And then if I need help with like cooking, I'm gonna, maybe do a meal prep service. I definitely believe
Yeah.
in not
Yes.
trying to do it all. You know what I mean? Like I've been really blessed in my life, so that I can be able to, afford these things. My husband works really hard, so we will be able to outsource if needed. Also have a network of, like I said, neighbors. My mother-in-law's been really, really helpful, and she is going to come stay with us for a little bit and help us after our son is home. So that's a blessing. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's how you can prepare for, just how to juggle all of your responsibilities is honestly by outsourcing. I just don't think it's possible to try and do it all, like the cooking, the cleaning, washing the baby, working, So uh, I think it's definitely going to be a juggling act trying to work from home and have a baby. But I think I'm built for it, and I know with help and just a system down place, I'll be able to manage it.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
I love it. I like it. And you know what? So I think the thing about the society that we're in now is that we don't plan for children, right? Unfortunately, a lot of times it just kind of happens, right? And for because life kind of just happens. But I think when you are at an older age or you're already married and things like that, the expectation is at some point you guys are going to have a child together, so you try to prepare ahead. And that's really the key, because the thing is, that whole superwoman thing, that's a myth. That's a misconception that we need to get rid of, that
yeah,
because I'm a mom I can do it all. Yes, we can do it all, but we shouldn't, because then
absolutely.
yes,
I
because then
like
you
that.
get to that place of burnout, right? And now you're not effective to your children. You're not effective to your man. You're not effective to your job. You're not effective to yourself. So it's very
Absolutely.
important to be prepared for a child. And it's a young lady on Instagram, and she's like a stay-at-home mom, and she talked about how we need to start preparing our younger women to let them know that, hey, look, there's a village, but the only thing about the village isn't free anymore, right? So that means that outsourcing, that's the village now. You have to outsource. But in order for you to outsource,
Absolutely.
you have to be financially prepared for that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
The thing now is time is money. So people don't just have time. It's not like back in the days when you had those older moms or grandmas that they didn't have nothing to do. So they have more time to help you rear your children and things like that. So the key for our expectant mothers is to plan ahead. Don't just have a baby and be surprised by it. Life happens, but a lot of these things we can prepare for. Make sure
Absolutely.
make sure your finances are in order. Make sure you know your plan for yourself and your purpose, the things that you're trying to do, because a lot of the biggest struggle in motherhood is finances. It's finances.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because then when you start thinking about childcare, you got to go to work. It's like childcare is a mortgage.
It is.
It's a
Especially if you
mortgage.
have more than one.
Yes, it's a mortgage. So you have to really, and the younger they are, the more you pay, because
Absolutely.
they require a lot more attention, and that's taking up the caregiver's time from the other children, so they have to charge more for that little one.
Uh,
And then when we plan ahead and we prepare and kind of do things God's way, because he intended for there to be a husband and a wife and a child and things like that. When we move in that aspect of things, then we have that protection and that covering that we need, so that when we need to take that break as a mother, because when you give birth, you need to give your body time to rest. You don't want to give birth and
Absolutely.
then, yeah, you're rushing to go back to work because your bills got to get paid. But I know, unfortunately, that is some people's situation, and not looking down on anybody or anything else like that. But it's just saying that now that we are mothers ourselves, we got to prepare our children early on. These are conversations that we need to start having. Let's not wait for our kids to, oh, mommy, I'm pregnant, to start having the go. No, you want to prepare them ahead of time. Hey, look, what kind of partner are you vetting? Do they want to have children? Are they? So there's certain conversations that you got to start having with your children early. Um, they're having sex younger and younger. So you got to prepare them, and you have to let them know the consequences of having sex, because it's not just a good time. You can become a mother, you can get an STD, things like that. So we got to really get back into this space of like, we got to prepare our children to be successful and not to fail. And the only way we can do that is by telling them early on, hey, look, this was mommy's experience. She may not have done things, because my parents warned me, but they didn't tell me until I was already grown and having sex and things like that. But if we would have been having those conversations early on, like, look, when you become a woman and you start thinking about children and a family, you really want to, you want to be prepared for certain things. It's expensive.
Absolutely.
They make it look easy, but it ain't.
It's not easy at all. I had those talks when I was a kid. I can remember being like 10 and 11 and literally learning about sex and um, how I would feel afterwards and things of that nature. Of course, they explain it in a way that they were taught. So I used to be wondering, like, what are you talking about? I'm getting up. Like, some guys can come to me and be like, oh, can I get some skins? Like, we didn't say that, you know what I mean? But back in their day, that's what they would say. And so, but yeah, they tried their best, but they did give us those conversations. I will say,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
definitely was a full adult before I decided that I wanted to engage in intimacy with someone. So I, always had a plan to wait until I was married. But college got me. but,
Right.
but no, it was definitely taught to me. And I'm really just thankful to God that I was able to have a child with my husband. And, I'm I'm just thankful that that happened for me, because I know it's, like, no shade. It's just not everyone's story. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm really thankful for that. And just going through this pregnancy experience, I just don't know how people do it by themselves. I'm just like, I need help getting off the couch some days. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, I just give like major props and like honor to women who do it by themselves. Because
yeah.
I'm not saying I couldn't, because I think I can do anything, but I know it would be a lot harder. Like, this process would be a lot harder doing it by myself.
Yeah, it is. And but the thing is, we want to try to change the narrative because that's too many of our stories, right? And the thing is, we want to change the narrative because as when the biggest blessing that you can ever do and have in life is to carry life. It's to carry another life. So it's like during that time, you don't want to be stressed, because your body's already going through all these changes. So it's already a lot of stress. You know what I mean? And the thing that kind of happens too that I think a lot of people are not really aware of is that baby carries that stress that you put on them. So it's like anything that you feel that baby feels. So that's why that it's a very crucial time. Not only can you lose the child because of too much stress, because of too much moving around, because of too much of anything, but you also have to think about every single emotion that you feel that baby is feeling. And now we
Exactly.
wonder why, yeah, we're giving birth to these kids and our kids are angry. Yeah, our kid they're coming out and with different, issues and situations, and we have to really think about during that stage of pregnancy what was really going on, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
believe that. My mom told me when she was pregnant with me, like, she was really excited. She was this is going to be her first time giving birth. She had had some previous miscarriages, so she was really excited when I was carried to full term. And she said her pregnancy was pretty peaceful for the most part. And I think that really affected my personality, just coming out, and just as a person. I think that affected my personality, because I've I've never been much of a firecracker. I can be a firecracker, but I, for the most part, I think I'm pretty chill. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But I agree with you because well, my mom actually had the same situation too. She had a couple miscarriages, and I came along, and then even after me was a whole lot. But it was one of those things. My dad was very attentive. They were in a situation where it was like, this is my wife. I can afford to care for her. She can rest. I can, take care. And those things are really, really important. You know what I mean? So we
Yes.
we got to get back to a space, of course, because me speaking myself, I'm not married. I had a baby out of wedlock, and it was challenging. It was a stressful situation. It was a stressful time. It's just a lot of things that you're thinking about. But when you prepare ahead, and you and your partner, you and your husband, y'all make this decision to say, hey, look, we're ready to bring another life in this world. That means you get your finances in order. That means you're planning ahead for childcare, like what you guys are doing. And what that does is it takes the stress off of you, right?
Absolutely.
And it takes the stress off your partner because generally when you're stressed, he's going to be stressed, which trickles down
Absolutely.
to the baby. But because you guys are in a space where it's like, hey, look, we're prepared for this. Financially, we got this. So you guys can relax and you can actually enjoy the beauty and the moment of what it really is about pregnancy that is so joyful.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. I think just some strategic moves that we both have made have, gotten us to this point. Me taking a remote position so that, in the future, I knew I wanted to have a kid. I was like, oh, this would be a lot more flexible, because if this had happened, I don't know, even 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I was still going into the office.
Yeah.
I wasn't going in full time, but I still would have to, find some kind of childcare for him. So now I'm able to make that decision and say, hey, I want to, what if I want to be a full time, just stay at home mom? I don't
Yeah.
really foresee that happening because I'm just, me. I've always been like,
I know you,
um,
sis.
yeah, I always like to contribute and just, have the ability to use my brain and, all that fun stuff. So,
Yep.
uh, yeah, but, but yeah, I mean, I have a goal of like homeschooling him. So,
Good.
having a remote position that's flexible, it's definitely going to be, an advantage versus me having to try and like, find a childcare program or find a nice school that I like, or,
Hmm.
like I can be the school, so I'm really
Yep.
excited about that.
I like that. I like that. And then another thing too is when we plan for it, like you said, because this is the reality. Now I'm talking to my dads here because this is the reality of it is sometimes after a woman gives birth, she might not be able to go back to work. You know what I mean? Because a lot of things can happen with her mentally, emotionally, physically, but things can also happen with the child that might require her to have to stay home. You know what I mean? So this is why we have to plan ahead because yes, it takes two incomes in the society that we live in now, but also what we have to remember is life happens and there might come to a space when she might not be able to work, right? So it's like we have to prepare and we got to plan for those kind of things and we got to kind of have those kind of conversations. So that's why when we're having children and we're not planning ahead and things like that, then we get put in these tricky situations that causes mental and emotional stress and turmoil, and then we're wondering why our children are growing up in broken homes and things like that, because finances is really 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 important. And the reality is, one thing that I have to say is I know that they said that we as women we fought to be equal to men and feminism and things like that, but the reality is I feel like when women were fighting for that opportunity, it wasn't necessarily to get into the workforce. It was more so to gain that respect, to still be able to have that level of respect that men have and things like that, with the flexibility of understanding, hey, we birth children. So the woman's role is at home with the child, because somebody has to be training that child. Somebody has to be laying that foundation, and that's the role. So I think when the whole feminism movement came in and it played out, everybody kind of forgot that hey, what about the kids? What about the family dynamics, right? And I think we kind of got lost in all of it. But I don't think women were actually saying, hey, look, I want to go out there and work like a man and things like that. No, I don't think that's what they was trying to say. We just
They,
wanted to be treated as humans. We wanted to be loved and respected like we were their equal, as in, hey, I'm not just come home and have sex and make babies all day long. No, you see what I'm saying? They wanted a level of respect. And I think everything kind of just got lost. And now we here and I'm ready to get back in the household. Like, what's this working thing? Because guess what? I could be at home and still bring money in. Because guess what?
yeah,
When I'm
I see it all the time. Most definitely, a lot of women are using their creative gifts and passions to make money from home. Yeah.
But that's how it was supposed to be in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, yeah, we're not going to leave our men out here hanging and working hard and struggling. And no, that's not what it's about, right? The idea of being at home and being relaxed and being in a mental space where you can think creatively, you can bring income into the household too. But I think
Absolutely.
because we're not taught those kind of things, people panic when your wife starts saying, "Oh, I want to stay home." Because in your mind it's like, well, it's been taking two incomes to run this household. If you're going to stay home, now what? But we got to start planning ahead to say, what does it look like with one income? That one income should be able to support things. So if she needs to be able to take off to be at home with the children, it should be allowed, it should be okay, because it's necessary to raise healthy kids. But what
Yeah,
you also got to remember is we got to teach our women how to be resourceful, because we already got the gifts and the skills. But
absolutely.
we ain't got the time to sit down and think about them, because it's constant go, 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 bills, bills,
Right.
bills, bills, bills. But we got to change the narrative and start thinking about things differently.
Yeah, I think that's where, planning for children, like if you're a man and one day you want to be a father and you want to have a wife, you need to think about that when you're, I mean, early 20s, like
Mhm.
kind of
Yeah.
career am I going to have,
Yep.
and I don't think, because of a lot of social economic factors, a lot of men don't even know what's out there or even think about this stuff at like 20. Like, okay, when I'm like 35, what if my wife wants to be a stay-at-home mom? Like, no one's thinking about that when they're 20. They're just like, oh, let me find a job, or oh, I guess I should go to college. Some people have direction, but I'm seeing more often than not a lot of these young people don't have direction.
Yeah.
um, and so, well, I would say I meet more who don't have direction than I meet that do have direction.
Yeah.
And so, uh, you if you're in a career where maybe that career would not sustain a family, it's gonna take those two parent households. But I think that's also where planning comes into. So if if you're like, okay, I know, like when some of my friends were in college, nursing school, um, medical school, they were like, absolutely no kids. Why? Because they wouldn't be able to afford it. You know what I mean? And it would affect their studies. So they're planning to have kids one day, but not right now, because now we're trying to focus on their, getting their career on the up and up. And then once it's on the up and up, then who will plan to have kids. And I know a lot of people who have done that. And they, had kids in their 30s once they were done with all their schooling and everything, that they wanted to get done as far as their career is concerned. But then there's also people, you can go to school in your 20s and in your 30s completely say, hey, I want to do a completely different career.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that's something you need to take into consideration when you are planning to have, like, family. What kind of a career could I have that's going to sustain a family? I mean, it's crazy to think about, but that's really what you have to think about, because you know certain careers you're not going to be able to sustain a family on, long term. um,
Yeah.
and so I think that that's a big topic of discussion,
Yeah.
that we need to have as well. So yeah.
So I like that. And I'm going to take that a step further too, right? Because guess what? These conversations should not start at 18 and 21. And these are conversations that parents need to be having with their children early on, right? We need to start giving them. And I say this only because these are conversations that my dad had with me, about that's why education was such a priority. And it was just about education. It was like, well, what kind of life do you want to have? What do you want your life to look like? And what does that mean, in the future? What does that require you doing now for it to look like that? Right. So, and we can't keep focusing on our daughters, because I think what happens is our our women are very prepared for motherhood. They're very prepared to be a wife, to be into family, or they're it's something different that it's like every girl's dream, and they nurture it early on, right? But with our boys, we really are not preparing them to be fathers and husbands and productive young men, right? We're not really preparing them to be self-sufficient, because that's really what it's about. It's about being self-sufficient. It's about being able to understand, I got to be able to maintain a household, not just to be a husband, but to be able to live on my own, to be able to make
Absolutely.
that transition from being a boy to being a man. So you got to start having those conversations early on. And I think a step further is not just having these conversations in the household, but we got to have programs and, in the school system where things are happening, where our children are really being taught what it means to survive in the world. A lot of the stuff we learn in school, we don't even use half that stuff, right? And I mean, I understand everything is systematic and is happening for a reason, but we as parents, we have to step up and we have to say, hey, look, I don't want to put my child at a disadvantage. I'm having those conversations now with my 4-year-old and my 9-year-old and my 15-year-old little brother, because I understand that one day you guys are going to become men and y'all going to have to run a household. How do you do that if you don't know what it's like already? I'm not saying we're
Exactly.
forcing them to grow up, but I'm saying we're laying foundations so that when they get to a certain age, it's not a struggle. I send them books, or I would try to read books to them, or even my brother, because he's a little older, he's 15. I'll send him like little YouTube clips or TikTok clips that's talking about how to be a man, how to support your wife, how to support your family, how to, I don't even have conversations of like, oh, girlfriend, and because that's fun stuff. When we talk about that kind of stuff, I'm like, that's when you're having a good time. But we're not just in a space to have a good time. I have to prepare you to be somebody's husband, to be somebody's father. That's important to me, right? Because I want to be able to say, hey, you want a woman to be able to say, thank you for this man. That's important, because when you got a good man, it's nothing else. Because there's nothing you guys can't weather together. So we got to,
Absolutely.
yeah, we got to, moms, we got to, and this is the mom's responsibility to a certain extent. We got to stop coddling our boys, and we got to hold them accountable. And we have to let them know there comes a point when it's like, okay, baby, you got to be a man. You got to take care of this. You got to take care of that. They got to understand how to pay bills. They got to understand how to wash the dishes, how to take out the trash, because this is not just about getting a wife, right? Because we say he who findeth a wife findeth a good thing, not a slave. So we have to
Right.
have the understanding that we have to prepare for this wife, right? And in preparation,
Absolutely.
that means you're getting your finances in order. That means you're getting your mental and emotional life in order. So we got to start these conversations very early on. And yeah, we can talk about sex and things like that and all of that kind of stuff, but we got to start talking about the things that make our children responsible adults.
Right.
Yeah. So, not to be on
Absolutely.
a tantrum, but
Yeah.
so, what are some key considerations when choosing a healthcare provider for prenatal care, and what kind of questions should expectant moms ask during these appointments?
Yeah, that's a great question because when I was looking, on what I wanted to do for my prenatal care, so you want to ask them uh, what are they doing? Like if you're a woman of color or Black, definitely, what are they doing to help decrease the maternal Black crisis? Basically when
Talk about
women of color and or Black women go in, they're more oftentimes to die during childbirth versus like a woman who is not a woman of color. So like what are they doing to combat that? What are their uh, thoughts on I would ask them all the hard questions like what are your thoughts on racial discrimination in the medical model?
Mhm.
Things of that nature. And then, of course, you want to read your reviews on them. I chose a midwife again, um, and I chose a certified professional midwife, so they're not attached to like a hospital or a medical system. They're literally their sole purpose is to just birth babies and provide prenatal care for babies. So I chose them because I felt I would get the best care there. I asked her all the hard questions. She is a Caucasian lady. Um, uh, Again, there's a couple of them. There's like five, but all five of them are like Caucasian. So um, I definitely like their answers to things. They seemed very knowledgeable on like some of the birthing techniques that just the medical model for me didn't provide. And so If you're over, 36, 35, you're considered geriatric. So you want to ask them, are you going to just, automatically label me as high risk because I'm over 35? So
Yeah.
whatever you feel, on your heart is to ask them are the questions that I would ask them,
Yeah.
to help you pick the best decision, for you. If you are prone to having diabetes or high blood pressure, you want to ask them how they'll manage that.
Yeah.
And so those are some of the questions you want to, ask them. How long they've been in practice, where they go to school. Again, read their reviews, and things of that nature. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I
Yeah.
would say.
I like that. I like it. And I know you're taking it from the perspective of us being African American women and us, the healthcare not really loving on us the way we need to be loved on. And it is a lot more of us that need to get into that area because we need more people that look like us taking care of us. Because a lot of the things that happen in that whole arena is because we as colored women, they feel like we have a high tolerance to pain, right? So
Absolutely.
they tend to not manage our pain well, right? And
Absolutely.
the most important thing that I want us specifically of colored, because I know other people are watching this, but I'm specifically speaking right now to women of color, is that you got to be knowledgeable about the process. You got to do your research. You got to ask the right questions, and you have to understand that when you're in the hospital and the medical setting, that they're working for you. So you got to be able to direct your care. Don't feel like, oh, because they're wearing white coats and you become intimidated by that, because we know that patients get they have that the white coat syndrome. That's what we call it. But you got to be knowledgeable. You got to come in there. You got to advocate for yourself. That's the most important thing, because what you're doing is you're fighting for your life and you're fighting for your child's life. So you have to be knowledgeable about the system, and you got to come in there and I'm not saying be rude or being disrespectful, but you want your question answered and you want to know that you are going to be okay and you are going to be in good hands. And another thing that I also recommend is having people that you can always get a second opinion if you're not comfortable with what you're being told. Always
Absolutely.
get
Yeah.
a second opinion. Don't just go with the flow because it sounds good or because you don't know. Your life is on the line, so you need to know. You know.
Absolutely. I would also say make sure if you are going to use the medical model, um, ask them what their C-section rate is, because doctors love to push C-sections. Obviously, they get paid more because it's a major surgery.
It's quicker,
Um,
and you
and
can
then
break
it's
it.
more planned, it's more convenient for them versus spontaneous, going into labor. I mean, yeah, you can have your baby in like 10 minutes versus like 24 hours. So
Yeah.
definitely ask them about that. They're definitely going to push you on, and then ask them their induction rate. Like, do you push inductions? If it's not medically necessary, you don't need an induction. If it's not medically necessary, you don't need a C-section, unless,
Right.
like, obviously you want to push for a C-section.
Yeah, of
But
course. Yeah.
yeah, so do your due diligence and making sure you research the right provider, because that can make all the difference in your pregnancy experience for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I know too, because when I'm not going to sit here and act like we're on a pedestal and things like that, because we do understand that there are different financial levels and different economics statuses to each and every one of us. So that also can put a disadvantage to how things move. But I'm like, it don't matter what your background is. I don't care if you got Medicaid. I don't care what kind of insurance. I don't care if you don't have insurance. Still be an advocate for yourself. It doesn't matter what it is. Don't have anybody push you into anything. Because the one thing I could say about America, what they call this, the land of opportunity, the land of the free, whatever they say, I don't know about it. But one thing I do know is it's so many other ways to get to what you need. You know what I mean? So you gotta be open to do the research and figure things out. And talking about the C-sections and things like that, because that's something I know that I never wanted. It's a reason why the birthing process is designed the way it is, right? Because everything happens naturally on its own, right? Nobody has to control it in any kind of way. But I mean, I do understand that there's circumstances that play out, but it's a reason why your water breaks or whatever, and you naturally go into labor and all of that kind of stuff. So, and of course, medicine has advanced things for a lot of reasons, and when we can't be mad at it because sometimes it's necessary, right? But just be aware. Don't let anybody tell you that, oh, because you had a C-section, you got to keep having C-sections. No, you do not. You could VBAC. I'm telling you because I'm sitting right here and I VBAC'd. I had a C-section with my first baby and I VBAC'd. And what that means is that I had a vaginal delivery the second time around. So it's definitely possible. Don't believe that just because you've been cut, that's the way you have to keep going. No, it's not.
Yeah,
It's not true.
I agree. I have a friend who did a VBAC, and this time around they want her to have a C-section again, and she was just like, I don't want to have a C-section. Like, I literally, with her third child, she had a VBAC, and now they want to cut her again. So she's not super excited about that. But then that just goes to show you that, she advocated for herself, but they're still adamant that they want to give her a C-section. And at this late in the game, in pregnancy, after like probably 25 weeks, you don't want to have to see a new provider. But I know, like,
what you got to do.
My midwives, they told us actually someone came to them at 28 weeks because their medical provider was pushing a C-section and they wanted a VBAC. And of course, the birthing center will allow you to do a VBAC because everyone has their babies naturally there. So definitely advocate for yourself. If you don't want to do what they are asking you to do, you can switch providers. You don't have to stay with the same provider. Now, again, everyone's situation is different. I don't know your insurance, information. I don't know if you can switch, providers at such and such number of weeks. But I do know, because again, I can only speak for the model that I'm using. They'll take you, pretty much until like 36 weeks.
Yeah.
And things are a little bit more lenient. So if you are telling them you want a VBAC, you're having a VBAC. So, so yes. And then to your comment about I don't want anyone to think that I'm only advocating for the more holistic model, because I also have to see doctors too. So, so I'm kind of like in both models right now. But I will say that I do like having a midwife. So if there is something like Janelle says she had in preeclampsia, you can still see your midwife, but they'll probably send you to like a maternal and fetal medicine doctor. So you could literally see both, at the same time, depending on your situation or whatever. But yeah, so don't feel like, you failed or anything like that if they end up referring you to someone else that has, a little bit more expertise in a different area of your pregnancy, because there's a lot of things that can happen during your pregnancy. So, I just wanted to throw that out there. Like, the medical model obviously has been working for hundreds of years. Well, at least 100, or so. I read that the first pregnancy with pain relief was Queen Elizabeth in 1853 in England. That was the first. Yeah, that was the first birth, like, on record where someone used pain relief. She actually was given chloroform. And after that, because before that, most people reliced in the fact that having baby naturally feeling all the pains in the birthing process was like a badge of honor. And she was just like, after her 8th child, she was like, listen, I can't do this no more. I need some pain relief. And they gave her chloroform. And then from then on, they started to, put in pain relief within, the birthing process. So whether you do it with pain relief, you don't do it with pain relief, or you do it with moderate pain relief, you're still, as long as you bring your baby earthside, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. But I mean, I'm definitely an advocate of you still need to be comfortable. You need to be
Yeah.
comfortable because too much trauma can affect the baby.
Yeah.
Too much pain, too much trauma, even on yourself. So you got to be comfortable. It's not about a badge of honor. It ain't about any of that kind of stuff. That don't make you less of a woman. None of that. It's still very important to be comfortable, to feel safe, to be okay. So all of that is still important. But that's good information. I like that. So, can you share some insight into creating a support system, including friends and family, to help expectant mothers during the transitional period?
Yeah, ask for help for sure. Don't be afraid to ask for help. If you do have a village, it can be a village of friends. It can be neighbors. Like for me, I have a village of neighbors that would be willing to help me if needed, especially since I live like 3.5 hours away from family. My husband, 3 to 4 hours from his family. So, Bill, basically, you got to communicate and ask for help when you need it. And you will need help. Everyone needs a village. No one can do it alone. So,
Mm-mm.
definitely don't, sit on your high horse thinking like you can do it all by yourself and you're not going to need help, because you're definitely going to need help.
Yeah.
There are Facebook groups. There are local groups where people barter. Of course you need to build a relationship with them first,
Yes.
but they can serve as a mommy helper, as a babysitter, as a nanny. Um, some barter services, some pay for the services. But I think just really getting out there, trying to network, find, meet people who you feel comfortable with your children, and just building up your network within your area, whether that be with friends, whether that be with family, or whether that be with just the network that you build yourself in your area, is definitely, definitely going to be important to ask for help when you need it.
Yeah, I like it. So, how can expectant mothers educate themselves about different parenting styles and philosophies to make informed decisions in their approach to motherhood?
I have a very simple answer to that question, and that is by reading. I've learned so much. I've learned so much, honestly, just by reading, different books, pregnancy books. I encourage every parent, every new parent, to take a child psychology class, course, or read a book, because
Yes.
it's really going to help you understand why your child is acting the way they're acting. Like a lot of parents, your child could be 5 and be like, I wish you would grow up, or I can't wait till you grow up, or why are you whining? I mean, they're 3. That's still part of how they communicate, even at 3.
Development.
You
Yeah.
don't, you're not going to 100% use your words all the time at 2 and 3. Sometimes you're going to whine. You can be like, oh my God, why is my child like 5 or 6 and they're still peeing in the bed? You know what I mean? It can be anxiety. It can be something that you don't understand. So I think reading child psychology books or a class
Mhm.
or a course or anything will definitely help parents understand why their children are at the level that they are, or even if they're even behind. That could tell you, hey, maybe this is a red flag and maybe I need to get my child, uh, looked at. If they're like 3 and they're not saying words yet, maybe we need to look into speech pathology, or maybe they're autistic or something of that nature. So I I would say definitely prepare by reading, like reading parenting books, child psychology books, just the books about like maybe getting them to eat different foods, learning new languages, things of that nature.
Yeah. And look, I love that you said that, right? Because one thing that we have to we okay, so this thing about life, right? We came here, right? And we're empty slate, right? Our parents instill certain things in us. They're the ones that rear us, they're the ones that teach us this, that, and the third, right? And they only taught us based on the experiences of what their parents taught them and their parents taught them and things like that. But we have advanced so much in this life that there is nothing that you want to know that you can't learn. Nothing, especially with technology. So I think it's like you said, you got to read. It's really important for us to understand that nobody just wakes up one day and got it all figured out as a mom or as a dad or as whatever. That's why we have courses. That's why we have people in different specialty areas. That's why everybody has a gift. We have gifts for a reason. And we go to school and get education so that we are able to pour these things back into each other, because that's how we become well-rounded individuals, and we're raising healthy people. Right?
Right.
That's why this world is struggling, because nobody is reading. Everybody thinks they know it all, or we can just wing life. No,
Right.
there's a manual out here for everything.
It is.
Even how to live our life. You got a manual out here, but people don't want to follow it because people don't like order. They don't want you know instructions and things. But there's, to a certain extent, I do feel like, get out there, read, learn new things. That doesn't make you inadequate. That don't make you less of a person. I think you're more inadequate for not wanting to reach out and learn something new. Because
Absolutely.
that's how we develop.
And I think that's where planning comes into play, because if you are planning to have a kid, you're going to already be reading these books, you know. If you um if you are just kind of living life vicariously, you're going to be planning on the fly, or sometimes you won't even have time to plan because you got to worry about working, or you got to worry about childcare and all the things that life, brings your way. I mean, I'm not saying every day I have time to sit and read a book. Sometimes I have to listen to an audio book,
Yeah.
but getting that information somehow, some way, so that you can be a productive parent and not, giving your child a childhood which they're going to have to heal from. So
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, and it doesn't. You don't even gotta read a book. You don't even gotta do the audio. You can go on YouTube. You can go. It's so many places like YouTube University. There's so many things that you can learn. Like, there are experts that are actually on YouTube giving expert advice, and things that have been researched, things that have been studied. We have to get into this. We gotta tap into knowledge, and not just tap into it, but apply it. Because if it's not used, it's useless. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you're not applying it so that it can show in the quality of life that you have, then it's still not, you know what I mean? It's not beneficial. So we got to get back to a place of, we got to learn. We got to take the time. And I know we all have different backgrounds, and different things have happened to us and things like that. But we got to get to a space where we got to heal ourselves so we can heal our children, and not even have to make them go through the things that we went through. That's why we try to advance. We want to do better than our parents. We want to create better situations for our children and our family, and things like that. So these are just lessons. It's life. We live, we learn, right? But what we
absolutely.
want to do is we want to change. We want to change the narrative. It's going to take more than just one person, but we got to have these conversations so
We
people can,
do.
yeah, so they can be like, I got to do better. I got to do different. If I don't know, let me reach out to somebody so that I can learn. And another thing too, like, people who have information and have knowledge, like, share it with other people. You know, we go,
Absolutely.
yeah, we go to church to fellowship. Not that we need to go to church because the church lives in us, but we have to get back to community and fellowshipping with one another, because you have gifts and talents that can help me. I have gifts and talents
Absolutely.
that can help you.
Yep.
We got to tap into them things, and we got to help each other grow.
Yes, and that's where, that mentorship comes in,
Yeah.
and pouring into the younger generation comes, especially, as they become, mothers and fathers themselves. So I think, mentorship is really important too.
Yeah, yeah. And like you said, I'm gonna go back to something you said about coaching. It's important for you to seek out people that have been successful in areas that you're trying to be. You're trying to be a wife, you're trying to be a husband, you're trying to be a mother, you're trying, reach out to people that have been there and have done it. Because guess what?
Absolutely.
They've made mistakes, they got blueprints. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? We make
Yeah,
life harder for no reason.
we do. And I think it's just like that sense of pride a lot of people have. Like, I have it all together. I don't need any help from anyone. No one can teach me anything that I can't teach myself. things of that nature. I know I've had a really good girlfriend for the past almost decade, and she was like one of the first married young people that I met that like actually was like happily married. Like, of course everyone has their moments, but like her husband seemed really supportive. She was like a stay-at-home mom when I first met her. We met in my Army Reserve unit, and they're still married to the till this day. They have two kids together, and I just really admire them. I always had, because we were in our 20s, and
Yeah.
very rarely do you meet like friends in your 20s that are married. And if they are married, they get a divorce in like 2, 3 years and it's over. So um, I really, really looked up to them, and I still do, because they've really made their marriage work, even though one might not have had a good example of marriage, and then the other one, their parents are still married. So I really, just love how two people can come together from differing backgrounds and make things work if you want to. Of course, it takes two consenting adults to do that.
Yeah,
So
if you want to, because it is
yes,
definitely possible, and I think another thing too that we have to really work on is getting out of that trauma response, right? We have to heal, because I think what end up happening is we want more for ourselves in life. A majority of people, because I like to see the good in people, right? So I'm gonna say that majority of the times we want a good outcome for our life, but we don't know how to go about it, right? So then what that requires is being teachable. You gotta, because if you want more, you gotta be teachable. You gotta reach
absolutely.
out for knowledge. Forget about being prideful, because yes, we're gonna have pride in certain things, but that's what comes in play when you talk about pride. You gotta be able to find people that you can trust. You got to be able to build relationship and connections with people who hey, look, they understand that I might not be my very best in this area, but they're willing to help me grow.
Absolutely.
And when you
I
when you have
100% agree.
connection, yeah, it's not everybody that you're gonna go learn from. It's not,
You're
so
right.
you got to be open, and it's not
Yes,
everybody
ma'am.
out there. Yeah. So I think I asked you that about the and yeah, they're different, and we talked about the gentle parenting, and that's actually the psychological way of doing things, because it focuses on teaching your child how to be a whole human and relating
Yeah,
to them from that
not just the case.
yeah, relating from that perspective of these are little people, these are little humans. The same things we want as adults are the same things that we need to give them. And though that when you follow that model, they don't got to heal from it, right? So, what are essential items and preparations that an expectant mother should consider for the arrival of their baby?
Oh, okay, yeah. So I had no idea, coming into this, but through some of my mom friends, I would definitely say you want to have a wait. If you're going to breastfeed, you want to have like a breast pump. You
Mhm.
could have like a little cosmetic refrigerator in your bedroom, where you can store your breast milk. So in the middle of the night, once your baby is full and you still have breast milk in there, you can just freeze it right on the fly. You don't have to worry about going to the kitchen or wherever you need to go to store milk. So I would say maybe a little cosmetic refrigerator. You want to definitely have some Pampers for your baby. You want to have,
Or
if
a
you're not
nappy, or a nappy. Some people
nappy,
go back to the holistic back in the days. I grew
yeah,
up on nappies because I was
yeah, the cloth diapers, right? Yep. So
yeah, the
you could do cloth
concept.
diapers. Another thing I would say have is, if you are not going to breastfeed, you want to have like a nice bottle where it's gonna maybe mimic the nipple of a woman, so maybe their latch is a little better and they're less colicky. Um, you want to just have like a separate place for them to sleep, because co-sleeping isn't really advised.
No, right.
And so I would say, like, maybe you could get like a little small bassinet to put beside your bed at night, so that They can sleep in their own separate space, and you can sleep in, and then but then they're like right next to you. So yeah, I think the essentials, honestly, if like you just got nothing else, is really just to make sure they have a source of food, a source of shelter. Of course, you want to have something for their waste to go inside. Either if it's the nappy, the cloth diapers, or regular like the disposable diapers. You definitely have to have a car seat so that you can take them home. They're not going to let you leave the hospital without a car seat. Um, and so I think those would be like your essentials. There's, of course, a whole plethora of other things that you could get for them.
Right.
You may want to have a few sleepers for them, because that's probably what they're going to live in for like the first 3 months or so. So, yeah, I would definitely say all of those things. And maybe just have a separate space for them to sleep at. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we did a nursery, but honestly, he's probably not going to sleep in there until he's like 5 or 6 months,
Yeah.
because I'm gonna put a bassinet like right beside the bed. So,
I
um,
understand.
but yeah, so that's what I would say.
Yeah. And the beauty of it all too, right? We're in the great America and there's WIC. So the WIC program makes sure that your baby has food. They make sure that the baby gets, they promote breastfeeding is definitely promoted. It's healthier. It helps with the baby getting all the vitamins and nutrients that they need directly from the mother. But hey, things happen, so we know that that's not always the way, but that's what they push, and that's what we try to push. I wasn't able to breastfeed for too long. It didn't work out. I wasn't really producing milk, but I really wanted to, but thank goodness for things like WIC, because they make sure so everybody has access to the things that their kids need. So that's important. The essential things. Um So, what role does self care play during pregnancy and in the early stages of motherhood? And what are some practical self care strategies for expectant mothers? What are some things that you've been doing, to keep yourself sane through this process?
Yeah, so I do. I remember my first trimester, I was really nauseous, so I did like acupuncture. I actually still do acupuncture,
Oh, nice.
but acupuncture definitely helps with nausea, just in case anyone's interested ever. So there's days I would go there like, oh, I just felt so horrible, and then I would leave like, okay, I don't feel it's crappy. So, I do chiropractic care for pain management. That I do that like once every 2 weeks. I also do prenatal massages. I do like once a month, or I just did one yesterday, and I actually fell asleep. It felt so good. Oh my gosh. Um, but yeah, so I definitely do that for self care. You're kind of limited on things you can do for self care, especially in the first trimester, because like you can't get a massage in your first trimester because massages, they can make your blood pressure go up,
Yeah, it's the
and because that it's increasing the blood flow in a specific area of your muscles.
yeah.
So I would
And
only advocate for it in like your second or third trimester. You
yeah.
can't go to a spa because most spas have like saunas. You can't go in a sauna. You can't do hot tubs.
Mm-mm.
Um,
We don't want too much
so
attention.
right. So you really would. I had thought about like going to a spa, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to a spa, and I'm like, what am I gonna do there?
You can get a
So
face. You can get your
yes,
nails done. But simple things like going for walks.
yeah, walks, exercising, even like if you're up to it, hiking, little trails. We have like little trails near my house, and we did a few of those when it was warmer weather. I also do yoga, so I would advocate for doing yoga during, especially uh, yoga, because it can help with like your pelvic floor. And that's going to be an important part of being pregnant and postpartum, is strengthening your pelvic floor. So I actually have a pelvic floor therapist that I go to help me prepare for labor and delivery. And then once I give birth, she's going to help me with any issues that I have, after giving birth. So I'm really thankful for that. That's like a form of self care too. But honestly, the best self care you can really give yourself while pregnant is sleep and rest. Like getting rest, getting sleep. that is the best form. I mean, a hot bath, nice, but nothing compares to just being able to take a nap.
Yes, getting some sleep, even reading a book to the baby, taking some time to read to the baby, and
I do
things.
that a lot too. Like every morning, I read him a little devotional, and then I'll rub my belly and talk to him and little poke him. He's usually up in the mornings, so I'll like. I guess my way of communicating with him is like rubbing my belly, and then talking to him and things like that. So yeah.
Amen. All right now. So, financial planning can be a significant concern for new parents. What are some tips for creating a budget and preparing financially for motherhood?
Oh, that's really a great question. I met with my financial planner because I wanted to prepare for maternity leave. Unfortunately, we live in a country where you don't really get paid maternity leave. So I'll be using short term disability. My company does give us 4 weeks of paid maternity leave, so that's a blessing. But short term disability is what I'll use first. So um, we made a plan on how I can still save money, while I'm out of, I guess, of work, just getting because I think short term disability is like 60% of
Yes,
your
yes,
salary.
mhm.
So yeah, he helped me with making a plan for how I can still contribute to my bills, and still save, while I'm on maternity leave. But also, if before you are thinking about having a baby, you can also go over your household budget. Like, how much do you really spend? When I say like my financial planner got into like all of my business, he got into all of my business. So he wanted to know due dates of all my bills, any debts that I have, any recurring, bills that we have to pay, things of that nature. So we were able to come up with a plan of action, which I'm following down to a T almost. Minus like I've been eating out a little bit, just because I've been
Like
too tired to
it.
cook. Yeah, and like if my husband doesn't cook, I don't. So it's either me eat out or starve. So,
Yeah, we can't.
but
You
I
can't let the
still,
baby.
yeah, I still try and eat healthily, well, healthy. So, um, but yeah, that's how we did it. Now, if you don't have like the resource of, meeting with a financial planner for whatever reason, maybe they're not available in your area. I would just say sit down with yourself, go through your income, go over your income, and then go over your last 3 months of bills. Like what were your bills? What were the averages? And then also like have you eaten out? Like what are your entertainment costs? What are your debts? What are your reoccurring bills? All that, and then you can easily do a budget. And Microsoft Excel has plenty of templates for budgeting. Honestly, that's what I did before I met with my financial planner. I just used Microsoft Excel. I listed all my bills, and then I listed the incomes, and then I listed any extra income, and then I was able to kind of just budget based off like, okay, if I have a deficit here, how can I alleviate that deficit, or if I have extra money over here, maybe I could put it in a high yield savings account versus like a savings account because you don't get anything, off of a savings account really.
Right.
So yeah, I think just you can either budget yourself, use the power of a template that already has the formulas in there, and then or you can talk to a financial planner who can kind of help you with getting a plan of action together so that when you're out of work, you're still able to meet your obligations.
Okay, I love it. So, how can expectant mothers address fears or anxieties about childbirth and postpartum experiences?
For me, I went to classes. So at the birthing center that I go to, they did a childbirth education class. They did one on vaginal delivery and C-section delivery, just so if anyone, things happen during birth. So somebody might have to have a C-section. Not everyone gets to have a vaginal delivery, like you were saying. So I think going to classes really help. Like, I don't know how people just go as a first time mom through pregnancy with no classes, no education, because I would just be lost and so scared of the process because I wouldn't know what's going on. So, me, I did At my local hospital, I did a breastfeeding class. I did a childbirth education class. Through the birthing center, I did like a class on how to breathe. Through labor pains, I did a spinning babies class. I did a nutrition class. So all of these things have helped me, especially like with the birthing process. I think just being able to ask those questions and actually seeing the labor and delivery ward, like there's a bathtub in the labor room so that you can get in for pain relief. They have birthing balls. They have, you can bring in your music. You can bring in a diffuser if you want to have aromatherapy. Like they really try and make it, therapeutic. I am giving birth in a hospital, so I, have those options now. I also saw the birthing center, and they're set up as well. They have like nice tubs, they have a bed, which is, completely different from like a hospital. It's like, the hospital, they just give you like this little, I don't know, it's like a bed, tiny little twin thingy. Like in the birthing center, it was like a full size bed. You got a nice big pool, you got chairs, you got things you can hold on to. So it's really cool. But but yeah, I think those are some of the things I would say. Just go to those classes. Check your local hospital. Most of them are free. At least mine were free in my area.
Yeah.
And then I also went to, the birthing center that I go to for my prenatal care, and they had classes. So I would definitely say check out those classes to help prepare. And then like, if you can't make it to classes for whatever reason, like, maybe you live in an area they don't have them, or maybe the hospital's just too far, or, YouTube University, like Janelle said, I'm gonna shout out a YouTube page. She's a Black doula, and her YouTube is called Matter Mia, and it's Mater and then MEA. So Matter Mia, and she works in collaboration with, I think, Gerber. But she gives you a whole series of information to help you choose between like a doula, a midwife, a OB. She talks to you about labor and delivery positions. She talks to you about breastfeeding. She has a really great YouTube page. So definitely look her up on YouTube.
Okay, so thank you, because we're going to definitely drop that link when we post this video so that you can have access to it. So now this conversation was really important to me and very beneficial because of the fact that so now I'm talking to my non-Caucasian moms. I'm talking to the African American moms and women of color. I want us to be able to understand that we are worthy of having the same level of experience that our white counterparts have when it comes to having babies, right? And I think because of a lot of generational things that have occurred and other things that are happening in the system, we have gotten the short end of the stick, right? So we don't understand that there's a wealth of things that are available to us that are free to educate us. And it's not just white people that go read books. It's not just them that go take classes. They do those kind of things. That's natural for them because that's the environment that they come from. But I want us to get into that understanding that we are worthy of all of that as well. We don't have to be rich. We don't have to have all this money. All we need is knowledge and understanding and wanting to be able to have better for ourselves and our children, and we can access it. So I want us to just get out of that mindset of saying, oh, that's not for us. Yes, it is for us. Why isn't it for us? So we got to seek the knowledge. We have to go out there and find the resources for our children. We can't continue to be at a disservice because it's costing us our lives. So taking these kind of classes will help a lot. And a lot of them are free. They're free, but then the problem is closed mouths don't get fed. If you don't know something, ask. Reach out to somebody so that you can get access to the resources that you need to be able to have a safe and healthy pregnancy and even child rearing. As you're raising your children, you still have access to classes and other things. Don't think that, oh, that's not for us, or we can't do that too, just because we weren't taught those things. It's very much for us. So I want us to understand that and be very aware of it because it's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, are there any specific resources or communities that you recommend for expectant mothers to connect with and learn from during their journey into motherhood? We're almost finished.
I would say definitely go on Facebook and search groups that are in the niche that you're looking for. Like I'm in a babies due in December group because I have a baby being born in December. I'm also in like a Black moms group in my local area, so I can build connections there. I couldn't be in a Black moms group of like, I don't know, Los Angeles because I don't live in Los Angeles. So
Yeah.
um, um, I'm also in like a Black parent breastfeeding group, and I know it sounds like I'm in a lot of Black groups because I am, but it's because I think our experience is just a bit different.
Yes.
So I'm in, a breastfeeding group because that is a goal of mine. I'm also in a local homeschooling group because that's another goal of mine,
I
is to
love it.
homeschool, but I also wanted him to have community, outside of me and his father. So
Yeah.
I'm in a homeschooling group, even though it's like 2 to 3 years down the line that I'll be homeschooling. But so yeah, definitely use the power of social media if you're not on social media. Um, like
Yeah.
Facebook or Instagram, there's still like meetup.com that have like local groups that you can join. So I would say definitely seek out those because you can't do it alone and you're gonna need that support system too. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I would say.
I love it. I love it because I need us to just start really understanding this isn't a black or white thing, but like you said, we are at a disadvantage in the birthing world. And we have to be able to stay connected to each other so that we are aware of what's going on and we are taking the necessary steps to protect ourselves and to prepare ourselves, right? Because a lot of the things that happen in the hospitals that shouldn't be happening anyway, we can protect ourselves from it just by having the knowledge that we need, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And having an advocate too.
yeah,
Um, like a support person to advocate for you when you can't advocate for yourself.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's true because I mean, I hate to say it, but and we have to remember like how our black men are being killed on the street is the same concept in childbirth in the hospitals. So we have to be knowledgeable and we have to be aware and we have to be ready to take the necessary steps to just to advocate and protect ourselves. You know, nobody's going to advocate for you but you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is actually, one of our last questions we got, So what advice would you offer to expectant mothers like yourself who may be feeling overwhelmed or anxious about the upcoming changes in their life?
Just take it one day at a time. Don't think about the future too much. Don't let it overwhelm you. Do some self care meditation techniques. Say positive words of affirmations. Those really help. Lots of times, society will have you think that you can't handle a pregnancy or that being sick is normal or that um, all the diseases and things that come with pregnancy or hormones are normal. Really, it's not. I just think over time things have changed and it just became the norm. But it doesn't mean it's normal.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but what I will say is to be patient with yourself and like I was saying in the beginning of our conversation, definitely be patient with yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. Like I know there's days I've been like, oh gosh, I'm such a crappy wife because I wasn't able to do such and such, right? Or I'm just such a horrible person because I, have been wanting to like shut people out, or not talk to people or, so it's like definitely give yourself grace.
Mhm.
You're not perfect. You are pregnant or expecting,
Yeah.
and things are just going to change for you. But also, realize you're human. When you make mistakes, you want to apologize for that. Um, and I also think that just really taking that time out to meditate and just really be with yourself and your feelings, even if it's once a week for
Mhm.
5 minutes, like I'm not saying you have to like sit and for like, 2 hours. but give yourself time for yourself. Like, even if you have other kids, you have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, you're single, give yourself time for yourself to give to level out your emotions, level out your intentions for the day. And I really think that that definitely will help in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you can turn it into a habit. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like she said, very important, because I love what you just said. Some of the things that we experience, they're not normal. We have made them the norm. And it's also important to be aware of your diet, what you're eating when you're pregnant, because that makes a big difference. And then trying to make time to work out. I know they're on the regular, we might not do it, but that's an important time because it helps with the process. Simple things, walking, simple. I'm not even telling you to do all this, just as simple as just taking quick walks around, things like that, trying to stretch and things. So really quick, I always like to end with quotes, but before I end with quotes, I actually have two books here that I had from my own pregnancy, actually, when I had my first baby. The first one is called What to Expect When You Are Expecting. So I'm definitely going to drop these books in the comment section, and you guys can access it from our Amazon store. We'll put the link and all of that. And then the other one is actually for the dads. It's Dude, You're going to Be a Dad, right? How to get both of you through the next 9 months. So the one thing that I like about this book, right, is because there are not a lot of books out there for men. There's 1,100,000 books out there for us moms to prepare us, but I don't think there are enough books out there to prepare our men, so that they also know what they're getting into, right? Because this is not just about mom. She's going through the bulk of it, but dad is experiencing everything with her, right? So it's important too that he has a resource for himself so that he knows what to expect also, right? It says she's pregnant, time to man up. There are approximately 3,712 ways for a guy to look stupid during pregnancy. This book here is to help you avoid all or most of them. And there's your first hint. Focus on what you can be doing for her rather than what's happening to her. So I'm not going to go through the whole back of the book because you can check it out. But it's just important too to be able to keep our men in the loop and to be able to have resources for them as well. So you guys can be in this process together. You know what I mean? So it's not
Absolutely.
like you're experiencing it alone and he can't really relate to you and he's feeling like isolated and you're bitching and complaining and excuse my French and but you want to be able to connect with each other during that time. It's important. And if he has a resource too where he's already like, oh well, I know my husband is going through this and this and this, so you can be able to share with him and be able to connect with him so that he understands what you're going through. Am I back? Can you see me? Can you see me, Tanisha? Girl, I'm sorry. What happened? Can you hear me?
Stage.
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I apologize. I don't know what just happened, but it took me out. But so I just like the fact that we also have resources for our men as well. So I'm about to come off the camera real quick because my computer actually did die on me. But I do want to read my quotes because I always like to end with quotes, and then we're gonna wrap this up, okay? So give me a second. So, a baby is something you carry inside of you for 9 months, in your arms for 3 years, and in your heart until the day you die. You are the closest I will ever come to magic. You never understand life until it grows inside of you. I am in love with a human I haven't met yet. 9 months preparing to fall in love for a lifetime. Everything grows rounder and wider and weirder. And I sit here in the middle of it all. And I wonder, who in the world will you turn out to be? So I'm just grateful that you sat with me today, Tanisha. Thank you so much for all the knowledge that you have provided to our expectant moms, being an expectant mom yourself. I'm going to give you a minute to tell everybody how they can connect with you, and then we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah, you can connect with me on Instagram at Teknesha Teknesha .exume EXUME. So it's at Teknesha.exume.
And I'll definitely drop that in the link so you can connect with her as well. And so we here at Self-Indulgent, we always believe that hey moms, expecting moms, moms of all kinds, young and old, you got to spend time loving on yourself. You got to keep pouring into yourself. You cannot pour into an empty cup. And in order for you to give love to anybody, you got to give it to yourself first. So
Amen.
we here yes. So we here at Self-Indulgent like to say, put yourself first and self-indulge. It's not selfish to maintain your self-care. It's self-preservation, and it allows you to be a better mother, a better partner, a better person to everybody who needs you. So we just appreciate you for tuning in. Continue to like, to share, to connect, and just continue to stay connected with us, right? So you can keep up with what we have going on. So we just thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, and until our next episode of Mom 365, we just want you to be intentional about loving on yourself. Be intentional about your self-care. And until next time, just be on purpose with everything that you do. Thank you so much, Tanisha, for being here. I so appreciate you.
Thank you for the invitation. Bye bye.